The following program is brought to you by Verdoliak Law Group, fighting insurance companies since 1963. And by TickSplits.com, the official ticket provider for BeersBarroom.com. The following program is intended for all audiences.
Pressure on Rodgers, he's going down. And that's where Khalil Mack is. Jordan Howard, that's going to be a Bears touchdown. Rodgers on 3rd and 10. He is smothered. Give Mack and Bilal Nichols, the rookie, credit. Will line up for a field goal try from 41 yards away. And Green Bay gets on the board. Tariq Cohen with the catch toward the end zone, and touchdown Bears! Crosby's kick, and he's going to slip it through. 8-point game at the moment. Jamal Williams is in the end zone for a Packer score. Rodgers throws, catch made. Devontae Adams slips back in the game and makes the grab to tie this game. Rodgers to throw on the run, and he's going to go down. Couldn't get away, brought down at the 23-yard line. Trubisky protected for the end zone, touchdown. Trey Burton. That's aggressive. Rodgers, end zone throw, and it's intercepted. And it's Eddie Jackson.
Soldier Field, 24-17. Bears trying to get their 10th win. Here's the boot up in the air. Going up for it. Allen Robinson, he's got it! He's caught the ball at the 43-yard line. Flag is down. It's going to be on Green Bay. I think that'll be a fade to black moment with Allen Robinson taking it out of the air and plucking it away from any Packer within his vicinity.
Cheers, Bears fans! This is Bears on Tap, and you just heard highlights from the Chicago Bears' 24-17 win over the Green Bay Packers to clinch the NFC North Division crown. Thank you to Fox Sports and WBBM Radio for their highlights. My name is Aldo Gandia. Excuse my voice as I was busy doing my job at Soldier Field and making noise. Danny Shimon will join me briefly, but first, my opening thought. Finally, isn't that the word most Chicago Bears fans thought when the game was over and the Bears were officially in the playoffs as division champions? Finally, that's the word that came to my mind when I looked at the defeated Green Bay Packers walk out of Soldier Field without coming from behind and winning a game, or a 50-point blowout bitch slapping, or a hyper-annoying Aaron Rodgers championship belt celebration. Finally, we were able to look at our Chicago Bears and say, this is what I've been waiting for. A Bears defense that terrorizes quarterbacks. Today, Rodgers was sacked 5 times. A defense that comes up with big play after big play. Today, Eddie Jackson came up with his 6th interception of the season, this one to ensure Rodgers did not ruin our day. An offense that has a quarterback who is capable of bouncing back from a bad game to show he's good and could be great. And a head coach who has already been named Coach of the Year by the Associated Press and will surely earn more honors. But the biggest thought I had after the Bears win over the Packers was that this win, this division championship, belongs to us. Yes, it's the players and coaches who deserve the credit for executing the win. But we, the fans, deserve this win because it is us who have stuck with this team when they contended only to be known as the worst team in the conference. We, the fans, deserve this win because We made noise and demanded John Fox, a dinosaur head coach, be fired because we knew the league was changing and he wasn't changing with it. We, the fans, deserve this division crown because we care so much about this team. My intent here is to acknowledge all of us who have given so much of our time and emotion to the Chicago Bears. It's finally paid off. And now I want to bring in my partner, Danny Shimon, to help me break down the game. But first, I want Danny to tell me what today's game means to him emotionally. Danny, how are you, brother?
Hey, Aldo. How you doing, buddy?
All right.
Man, I tell you, it was a game that coming into it, I was kind of nervous about it, but I wasn't. It was one of those games where, funny to say, but I felt more confident in today's outcome that it was going to be a positive outcome than I was in any other game this season. Just because, like you and I have been saying all year long, we saw the development, we saw the growth of this team getting better week in, week out. We saw they start off the season with a strong defense, right, and an offense that was gelling, that was just coming together with a young developing quarterback. And you and I were one of the first ones that said, this is a playoff team, guys. This is a team that's going to contend for the division title. And today was the day where they can go out there at home, like you said, in front of you, in front of Phil, in front of a bunch of the Bear fans and Barflies out there, and clinch the division. And not only clinch it in Soldier Field, but also clinch it against their arch rival, the Packers, also, and make up for that week one loss that didn't sit well with the entire team. And then also kind of shut up Aaron Rodgers and his, prediction a couple of weeks ago that they're going to go out and they're going to, beat Arizona. They're going to come to Chicago, a place that they've won or have had success in the past. They win here, and so on and so forth. So I was very confident that this was going to be a prevailing Bears victory today that we were going to talk about tonight. And the guys went out there. Obviously, it's one thing to talk about it, another thing to go out there and do it. And from the get-go, defense was out there. They were all over Aaron Rodgers. And one thing we know for sure is not only is Khalil Mack a great player, but he loves playing against the Packers. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Khalil and Akeem Hicks and from Mitch Trubisky and, of course, head coach Matt Nagy. We're going to listen to some of the things they said after the game. And also we're going to hear from Charles Leno, who had a really special moment after the game that we'll, if you haven't heard yet, we'll share it with you towards the end of the show, so stay tuned for that.
It includes a ring, but not that kind of ring.
That's right. That is exactly right. But Danny, emotionally, did you get, teary-eyed, or were you yelling or screaming? I want to get down to the nitty-gritty here. How was your gut reaction?
I'm always yelling and screaming, and then when they went up 14-6, I was like, all right, this is pretty good. But then that I don't know if you want to call it a brain cramp or whatnot, but that third and fourth down play sequence there where, on third down they go with Mizell, and then on fourth down they go with the sneak to the fake punt and give it to Cunningham. Kind of got my blood pressure boiling, and I'm like, this is a big momentum change. And sure enough, the Packers went downfield, took that great field advantage, got the ball at midfield, went downfield, scored, and then tied it with the subsequent 2-point conversion. I was like, oh boy, we've seen this before. That was the only time today where I was like, some doubt crept into my head. But like I said earlier, I was confident they were going to do it, that they're just going to find a way to do it. And what a big time drive, to come back by the offense and by Trubisky, who, you and I were saying, he needed to bounce back after that big, or that lackluster performance, if you will, last week against the Rams. And you know what? He did it today. I mean, the guy came out and, he didn't do anything spectacular, anything great, but he was efficient. He didn't turn the ball over, and he made the big throws when he needed to. And suffice to say, I think he proved to us, at least to me, that last week's performance was a lot to do with being off for 2 weeks, some rust, and being amped up, for a primetime game. So it was definitely an emotional, emotional game. By the end, it was just like, all right, they've done it. They got the division. Now let's continue. Let's get the highest seed possible, and let's see. I'll take my chances against any of these teams in the NFC with this defense, guys. I don't care if we have to travel to New Orleans. I don't care if we have to travel to LA. Those guys have good records. Those teams have good records, respectively in their home stadiums. But defense travels in the NFL, and this is a defense that can and is able to beat any team anywhere, any given Sunday. So, we can get into more of that as the show goes on. But yeah, I'm very confident.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, for me personally, this season ranks up there with the 85 Super Bowl Shuffle season. That season was special because when you looked at the defense, there were like 9 Pro Bowlers there, and you knew this was unheard of, that this was special. And I'm talking about legitimate Pro Bowl caliber players, and you knew that Buddy Ryan was running a incredibly innovative pressure defense that was just knocking the crap out of the opposing team. And so we were witnessing something tremendous. And then with Ditka's personality and his use of the fridge, that was one of my all-time favorite sports seasons in Chicago. This season is becoming one of my all-time favorites and could end up being my all-time favorite because I love the characters on this team. I love the head coach, his personality, with the culture that he's brought to this locker room. I'm going to play for you guys later. Let me play it now. The celebration they had. They're out there dancing with the disco ball, and then he's addressing the team. Listen to some of this. It's just fabulous.
But it feels good. Man, it feels good. Offense, defense, special teams. That's how it goes, man. You got me? Hey, it feels good. So enjoy it. Enjoy this thing. When I just got done saying, we are not done. You got me? If you're done, just leave. Because I ain't done. Number 10, get in here!
Good work, fellas. You deserve this. Love y'all boys. Let's continue to put the work in because we're not done. We're just getting started. Let's go. Family on 3. 1, 2, 3.
How about that? I got goose pimples. I am just psyched up for that. It was just an incredible moment. These guys are dancing like it was, Rush Street in 1980 Chicago, man. This was fun stuff, man.
I thought it was just funny that they used the same song that you and I used for our pre-production, meeting prior to the podcast, to get us hyped up for the show, So it's kind of cool. But no, in all seriousness, like you mentioned Ditka and back in the 85 team, and great team, no doubt, but that team to me was more divided. If you think about it, they had Ditka in the offense and you had Buddy Ryan in his defense.
True.
This team, even though Vic Fangio has the quote unquote Buddy Ryan role, which he controls the defense, but Nagy he incorporates everybody. Everybody in this team respects and plays hard for their head coach. Because he makes it into a like a one big cohesive family, if you will, unit. We make sure everyone is involved. He might not be, putting together the game plan defensively, but he knows what's going on. He's communicating with the defensive players, with the coaches, and he's involved with the defensive players, and so they know him, he knows them, so on and so forth. There is no division, if you will, and I think that's what makes this team special. I mean, they all root for each other. They all back each other up. If Trubisky has a bad play, the defense comes out. So, we got you. We got you. Don't worry about it. And they pick them up. So, and vice versa. If the defense gives up the touchdown, the offense comes back. All right, we'll get you guys. We'll get that score back or something like that. So that's what's special about this. And that's something that you're right, that, Nagy came in here and he incorporated this. He brought this here. We didn't feel about this way about this team last year. And another thing about it is he wants the fans to be part of this. He wants us to, see what's going on inside. He wants us to, to enjoy the players as he's enjoying them. He wants us to enjoy this journey with them. You may have heard this before, last week when they gave the fans a game ball. Today, a lot of the fans could actually walk up. They had the ball actually encased at one of the gates where fans go up there and take a picture with the game ball from last week. So, stuff like that, it's little things that, that make the fans want to be, as they're part of this team. And I think that's what has this city galvanized now with this team, and you know, on this emotional ride, you know, week in and week out. You know, when win, lose or draw, you know, they're going to be, you know, rooting for and feeling the pain or the joy of each win and loss every week. So, you know, it's something special is being developed here, and I think it's just going to keep continuing getting better and better and better as it goes on.
Yep, and Nagy talked about the future. But first, before I get to that, I want you to hear what Matt Nagy said about Mitch Trubisky and how proud he was of his performance today.
I'm super proud of him. I think his numbers were 20 of 28 with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. And when you have this defense and you're able to play with such a great defense and have that field position, protect the football, and not throw interceptions, we're always going to have an opportunity. But on top of that, you know, to be able to make that strong throw to Trey for the touchdown, that's a big time throw, big time play, and a big time situation. And I'll just say this: Mike Pettin, the defensive coordinator for the Packers, he does an amazing job on defense, and I have a lot of respect for him. And I think he's a really good top defensive coordinator in the league. And so he does not make things easy for you. And so for Mitch to come into this game and play the way he did and hit a little adversity here or there and learn, you know, I was excited about that.
Came off the field after the touchdown and you grabbed his face mask. What did you say to him?
I told him that's a throw. That's a throw that he just made right there with conviction. That was exactly what I said. That was a conviction throw. And when he does that, he's tough to stop. And he made it up in his mind that he was going to go to Trey on that. Trey had a great route. You could see the laser, you know, touch that he put on it. And that was a big play in that situation because they're not easy to score on in the red zone.
That was indeed a big play, and I totally agree with him. That throw to Burton was a gorgeous throw, and he threw it with conviction. And I noticed, I was keeping a close eye on his footwork. I thought his footwork was a million times better than what we witnessed against the Rams on Monday or Sunday night.
Yes, I mean, and you can tell. You can tell when he's on. When you can tell when his footwork is good in the pocket, when his throws are accurate. You know, like that throw to Burton. You know, it was in rhythm. It was, you know, Burton didn't have to, you know, stop or adjust. It was right, hit him right in the hands. Now, I think there was a defensive breakdown by the Packers, but still, it was, he read it. He saw that was his primary target. He saw it, he felt it, and he knew where to throw it, and that was a touchdown. Another sequence that where Trubisky really impressed me. First of all, you know, it's good to see him, or it's good to see that the difference he makes on this offense with his ability to elude pressure, keep plays alive, okay, and then also pick up first downs. There was a sequence, I believe it was a 3rd and 10 or 11, and he was able to avoid a blitzer, get out of the pocket, roll out, and pick up 14 yards. And that really does demoralize defensive units, you know, because they have the guys covered, they have him pressured, you know, they just runs out, escapes the pocket, and gets the first down. So seeing him use his legs again, pick up first downs, and being a vital weapon is a real big positive, because that tells me that he's not worried about his shoulder, not worried about getting hit. Okay, the 2-minute drive prior to the end of the first half, where I think Trubisky handled that sequence tremendously well. I mean, he didn't hurry his throws. You could see on the touchdown pass to Cohen, where, you know, pre-snap he read the blitz. He saw the Packers were blitzing. He was able to find his release, his underneath release, and Cohen, and threw it to him, and Cohen was able to, you know, make a great play and get into the end zone for a touchdown. But that was another development in his growth, right? You see him recognize a blitz pre-snap, know where his hot route is or his release route is, which is be Cohen underneath, get that positive yards and get that touchdown. And then of course, going to that, you know, game-winning clinching drive there, where, like we just talked about, you know, he do the perfect pass to Burn, in the end zone for a touchdown. Mm-hmm. So, but again, a couple things I just want to kind of caution back here. When he sees it, he hits it. It's a problem when he has still a little bit here and there is when he has to go off of his first read, go to his second, third read. That's kind of come though. But you see glimpses of him getting better at that as well. But there's still some areas where, you know, he struggles moving on to his other targets if his first guy is blocked or if it's covered. So that's something that he still has to develop. But guys, I have no, what should I say? I have a lot of confidence that he's going to develop with the toolage and the teaching and the coaching he's getting from the staff.
You know, one of the things that I was really heartened to hear from Matt Nagy after the press conference, last week you and I talked about how he kind of makes excuses for Mitch Trubisky. Well, this is what he said today that made me, kind of applaud that this is a tactic or something that he does with his quarterback.
There's times I'm tough on him on the sideline, and there's times I'm tough on him in practice. But he understands the only way that he's going to get better is with that. If I'm content with how he's playing, then we're not doing our job. And he appreciates that, and I love that about him. The kid's a fighter, he's a competitor, and we're lucky to have him.
I'm so glad to hear that he's tough on him and that he lets him know when he's doing stuff wrong, because, we've heard him make excuses for Mitch over and over and over again. I was wondering, is he coddling this guy too much? But clearly he's not, and I think we saw some really good results. Like I said, I was watching his footwork, and he's pointing his toes at the target today. There were a couple of balls that weren't perfect, but man, oh man, it seems like every time he's had a bad game this year, he's been able to bounce back, and I'm really happy to see that for the young guy.
Right, and then the thing about Trubisky is that you can tell, you can see in his play, he is getting coached. Now, Nagy's a player's coach, in my opinion. He's not a guy who's going to throw anybody under the bus, okay? But he's definitely a guy, from what I've seen on the sideline, that he will get on his players. Now, it might not be in the public eye where we see it, but it's definitely someone that he can probably get on his players inside the meeting room. When they're running over the tape, he'll definitely get on and use those moments, those bad plays, as teaching moments. Now, another thing with Trubisky today that I liked, and you were there, obviously you saw it as well, is that play to Adam Shaheen down the left sideline, yes, where he got out, bought time, scrambled, and kept his eyes downfield. That's the key there, where he's not looking to tuck it and run. He still has the ball, the presence to look downfield, sees a man wide open, squares the shoulder to the target, and hits him in stride down the field for, I believe it was a 20-some yard gain. So, plays like that, this is what I'm talking about, where I see glimpses of development. Sure, we'll see an errant throw here and there. Sure, we'll see him maybe miss a target here and there. But stuff like that, where he eludes pressure and doesn't just, like first week, 2 weeks of season, where he was just tucking and running. No, he's looking downfield. He's looking for his options, because he knows where these guys should be now. And now these offensive weapons, they know him too. They know his tendencies. They know he can keep plays alive. When he keeps plays alive, it's then their responsibility to work with the quarterback, either come back to the quarterback or free themselves, either downfield to get open and give him an option to get the ball to them. And that's what Shaheen did. And Trubisky saw him on that play, and that was another key point there that I marked down as something that he has improved on since the beginning of the season till now.
Let's listen to a little of Mitch Trubisky in his post-game conference. And if you haven't seen the video of this, maybe I can find a picture and post it up on Bears Bar Room, post a video. He's wearing a Chicago Bears Christmas sweater. And it's
would that be considered an ugly sweater?
Yeah, yes. In my opinion, yes. And it had lights, and he starts the press conference by asking, do you guys want the lights on or off? And everybody said on. And he handled the press conference and the questions like a pro. I mean, this guy, he studies to be a leader, and he's displaying all the leadership skills on the field and off the field. Here's a bit of his press conference.
We knew they weren't going to give us anything deep, so it was going to be a grinded-out game. Take what they give us underneath and just find completions. So that's what I wanted to do all day, just stack completions. I knew we'd break some tackles, and then you get some longer plays, and then when we get down into the red zone, we need to convert. But the main thing was we wanted to stay on third down. We know they could throw a bunch of funky stuff at us on third down, and that was just my mindset this whole game. Don't do anything crazy. Don't try to make a splash. Just completions after completions, and it resulted in first downs, and it helped create a rhythm within the offense that I think helped all day.
Mitch, along those lines of the growth week one to now, did you have a sense that your recognition, has improved against that particular defense, understanding, that coordinator's tendencies, but you've obviously had a lot of experience through this season to this point?
Yeah, for sure. He actually doesn't show many tendencies, which makes it tough. So we break down the numbers, and he obviously self-scouts a lot and mixes it up, which makes it hard on quarterbacks. But whatever he throws out, you just got to recognize it right away on the snap and just go through your reads and do your job. So I just continue to rely on my teammates. They do such a great job. The O-line played their tails off. Playmakers got open, and when they're recognizing it well, then we're just out there playing catch, and the offense is rolling.
Pretty cool, pretty impressive press conference, right?
Yeah, I mean, the kid obviously is a leader. I mean, you could tell just the way his teammates rally around him. Whenever he has a bad game, no one ever points the finger at him, or they're always there to back him up. So, and you can see on the sideline his interactions. You can see the post game stuff when and Club Dub. He's in there in the middle of them dancing. He knows some of the lyrics to these songs. So he's one of the guys. He's not secluded himself as the quarterback and the leader of the team, blah, blah, blah. He's actually one of the guys, and you can see these guys generally like him, and they play hard for him, and they rally to him when he needs support, when he needs to be, picked up, they rally to him, and you could tell that. And that's a good sign of a leadership right there. So definitely, like the way this is trending. Obviously, he needed this game after last week. You can tell it post-game, and even some of the comments that the coach had made, midweek is, Trubisky was pretty down on himself. He was happy about the win, but he was pretty down about the way he played. So I think this was a big game for him to bounce back, to get that good feeling back, the positive vibe, if you will. It helps now. They clinch a division. That's even better now. So now all I have to worry about is continuing. Some good. Put a couple more good games back to back together here, and then head into the playoffs. Feeling good about yourself.
Well, not only did they clinch the division, but it looks like they might have here an outside chance of clinching one of the top 2 seeds, because as we are recording this live on Mixlr.com, if you'd like to listen to the show on Mixlr.com, if you're hearing this on podcast, you should stop by on Sunday nights at 10 p.m. When we do the show live on Mixlr. We got all sorts of people. Right now we got 30 people in the chat room, all of them exchanging thoughts about the game. All of them are wondering who is it that's talking to them, because it doesn't sound like Aldo. This guy sounds like he's sober. But my point is that right now, as we are looking at the Philadelphia Eagles, Los Angeles Rams, it's the Eagles 30, the Rams 23 with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left. So if the Eagles steal this game from the Rams, the Bears are now in contention for a first-round bye. How about that, Mr. Danny Shimon? Pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be a game behind the Rams with 2 games left to play, obviously. So the only thing is the Rams, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, although they have, I want to say Arizona and the 49ers left on their schedule. So, if you think about it, those are 2 games they should, and I think the 49ers are in LA. So, chances are for them losing that game, it's rare, but hey, you never know. Any given Sunday, the 49ers, are like the Bears' next week's opponent. They're playing tough. They played Seattle tough today and beat Seattle actually today. And Seattle was on a roll. So. Any given Sunday. But yeah, so the Bears are, if this goes final now, if Philadelphia does hold on to win, the Bears will be 1 game behind the Rams. And of course, because of their win last week, they hold the tiebreaker. So if the Bears win out and the Rams lose 1, the Bears will catch and overtake the Rams and then secure a bye for that first round of the playoffs. So and then again, with some of the injuries that Bears sustained today, that first round bye could be key, guys. Especially if it's Eddie Jackson, if it's a high ankle sprain, and we haven't heard anything about Aaron Lynch yet. But if these are some injuries that are going to take a couple of weeks to heal and get back to 100%, that bye is going to be huge if they can secure it.
And I want to talk about Tariq Cohen now, because it is clear that of all the offensive weapons Matt Nagy has to play with, it appears to me that it's pretty clear that he likes
Cohen's
Tariq.
Favorite.
Yes, it's pretty obvious, right?
Cohen is a teacher's pet. That's what Cohen is.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. This is what Coach Nagy said about Tariq after the game.
He's a guy that can make a lot of plays from the backfield, and he's a great route runner. He's energetic. Of course, he's frustrated at the situation with the fumble, but he's got a great mentality. He'll be the first to tell you that let's go to the next play. That's what I love about him. Pretty
cool. Tariq is truly a special player, isn't he?
Yeah, especially, it's funny because to me, he comes in as a running back. To me, I think he is phenomenal as a pass catcher. Mm-hmm. I mean, his routes out of the backfield are crisp. He runs clean routes. His hands are terrific. I mean, I've yet to see him drop a pass, to be honest with you. But that element that he provides as a pass catcher out of the backfield is huge. And then, of course, in terms of his running ability, his ability to stretch out and hit those those seams, those gaps, and just hit it upfield with that burst is electric. So if you're a defensive unit and, you see him get the ball back there, if you see him at all, because he's so small, but if you can find him, you see him, you better get to that, your gap, and you better, fulfill your run fit if you're a linebacker or defensive back, because if he gets there first, he's going to scoot through that gap, and next thing you know, it's a 22-yard gain up the sideline there. So definitely a weapon. He's a guy that you're going to have to use in moderation. I think today he had 10 touches total, not including his punt return and special teams duties. So he's a guy that you can use in moderation. He's definitely a weapon. Definitely someone that opposing defensive coordinators have to game plan for. Someone that they have to keep in mind whenever he's in the game. I just don't want him back there. In playing the wildcat position. With that fumble today, but definitely someone that if you're a defensive coordinator, you have to pay attention to where he's at, where he's lined up. Is he a running back? Is he split out wide? Is he in the slot? Where is he going? Just another element to the Bears offense that, quite frankly, they didn't have in the past. So, a weapon that everyone's going to have to pay attention to and be cognizant of. So, I like the way that Nagy uses him, and I think that as Cohen gets more and more comfortable, as the team actually gets more and more comfortable in his offense, I think we're going to see him being utilized more and more and more.
What do you think happened on that wildcat play? Do you think that it was clearly his fault, right?
Right. So basically, at that point, he being the quarterback at that, after that play, he reads the defensive line. If the defensive end crashes, he has to hold that ball, and he takes that's his ball. He takes it. But I think he was just late in reading it, and he was like stuck in between at the mesh point where he has to either give the ball to Jordan Howard or keep it himself. I think he was just some in between there, some indecisiveness, and that caused that ball to pop out. So I think that's what happened there.
And then there was that one play in the red zone, a third down pass to him on the sideline.
He lost track of where he was on the field and stepped out 1 yard short of the. He was. I mean, I didn't see a defender within 5 yards of him, he easily could have gone in. Maybe even juked the defender in the open field and got it for a touchdown. But that was tough.
Yes, and he immediately realized he made a mistake. But that was hard to take. It was like, oh, Tariq, that one bothered me more actually than the fumble because, it just seemed like he perhaps was not concentrating enough. But maybe you have a better take on that, and that he just kind of lost track of.
Yeah, it looked like he just lost where he was at in the field, and he thought he was within the. He had run past the sticks, and he was 1 yard short. I was curious, what was your thought being there at the stadium? I was kind of surprised Nagy did not go for it on fourth down and elected to go for the field goal at that point. Now, I know when they went up by 2 scores, and that was probably the right call, but I'm surprised he didn't go for it there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, I was part of the reason I lost my voice because at that moment I was yelling, take the points, get the field goal team out there. I didn't, at that point, I just felt like play it as safe and go up by 10 points and not do anything risky. Now he's a coach. I've learned that, hey, he is an innovative, take chances coach. And when they work, we love him and we applaud him. And then when they don't work, we get on him. He's saying he's too cute. I actually tweeted out he's got too cute with that wild card play. And then I started thinking about it. You know what? It wasn't too cute. It was a good call. He's creative. He's going to do things like that. So got to go with it. But I'm glad that he went for the 3 points. I am a little surprised that he didn't go for it. But I'm glad that he played that conservatively. I tend to always favor on the side of take the points. But there are some times when you get a gut feel as a fan, and I'm sure as a coach you do, that you got to go for it and lay down the hammer.
Right, and especially at that point of the game. So, like earlier when he went for it on third down and he gave it to Mizell. I'm like, again, you have guys like Tariq Cohen, Jordan Howard, Allen Robinson, Trey Burton, all these other weapons. Give it to your studs. Why are you giving it to Mizell on third down here? You need a first down here, and then to go for that fake punt. I just think that was just a bad time to go for it because you gave him a great field position, midfield, and with a chance in a 1-score game, they go back and and they did tie the game up. At that point, again, going for the field goal, the right call. I was just surprised because he is so aggressive. But maybe you're right. Maybe he's got those gut feelings, and at that time he just felt like, what, I don't want to risk it here. And if we don't get this, that's another momentum swing back on the Packers side, and so on and so forth. So he just went for the the safe, although with Cody Parkey, I don't think any kick is safe. But anyway, he made it, so we're not gonna knock him. But he made it, so it made a two-score game, and eventually, I was surprised on the flip side that the Packers went for a field goal, with 20-some seconds left, and instead of going for a touchdown, because I figured the touchdown was the hardest part to get. Mm-hmm. You're already there, try and score, and then onside kick, recover, and then you can try and get a field goal. But no, who knows? That's why I'm here, and they're being paid millions to coach.
Yeah. Hey, I want to let everybody know that the playoffs are coming, and people are going to be fighting for tickets to a playoff game. Can you imagine a playoff game in Chicago at Soldier Field? It's been so long. Those tickets are going to cost a lot. So you want to find a place that's going to give you the best value. And that place is TixBlitz. TixBlitz.com. Now, how can you increase the value on the purchase of a ticket from TixBlitz? This is what you have to do to get a special promo code that will get you $50 off on that ticket purchase. You go to email and you send an email to marketing@TixBlitz.com. And my man, Michael, over at the marketing director, he will give you a promo code. Now, this isn't for everybody. You got to be like the first 10. I think already 1 or 2 people have already applied for it. So you got to hurry, make your plans as quickly as you can, and apply for this $50 promo code. I hope you get it, and I hope I see you at the game. I don't know if I'm going to go. I got to get permission from my wife, the chief financial officer at BearsBarroom.com. But if I go, I want to see you there, share a beer, and share a victory with you. Remember, TixBlitz.com. That's the place to go to get the best value. TixBlitz. I'm actually being prompted here in the chat room by Michael. He's telling me, spell it out. TixBlitz.com. All right. I want to play a little audio of Matt Nagy talking about a certain player who has really, really helped to change the fortunes of this team this year, and that is, of course, Khalil Mack. This is what Nagy said about the player, defensive linebacker, edge rusher who got 2.5 sacks today.
For Khalil to come onto this team, and from the very first day that he showed up to practice, he was a complete team player. Nothing about me. All about this team. He doesn't want any accolades. He doesn't want any attention, and he practices really hard. And then he's a great person. So he's infected every player in the right way and made us all better offensively too. Just always talking, always leading. Just has a great mentality to him, and we're very fortunate, to have him. And again, that was a big part of our season here, is getting him in the beginning.
He's sort of like a nice Michael Jordan, because we now all know the stories about Michael Jordan could be a real ASS in practices, throwing elbows, getting mad at players that won. But Khalil Mack is a guy that practices hard. And when you have superstars that are practicing hard, that's infectious. The whole team now says, man, if the best player on the team is busting his ass in practice, I got to do it too. I love the fact this is the GM move of the year, maybe the decade. Ryan Pace getting Khalil Mack to the Chicago Bears.
This one move will probably win Ryan Pace Executive of the Year. Mm-hmm. I'm being a little facetious here, but I mean, seriously though, this was one of the greatest trades. Probably will go down as one of the greatest trades in Bears history. If God willing, knock on wood, Khalil stays healthy for the rest of his career. But we talked about it when the trade was made. Great players, they impact everybody on the field. To make everyone around them better. Have we noticed since he got healthy, Leonard Floyd now is becoming a force on the opposite side of Khalil Mack?
Oh yeah.
I don't think that's an accident. I don't think Leonard Floyd would be making this kind of an impact if Khalil Mack wasn't on the opposite side of him. I mean, today I charted down there were 7. For my eyes, 7 holding penalties that could have been called, today on Khalil Mack alone that the referees didn't call. They called one holding call towards the end of the game where Jason Spriggs grabbed him. Spriggs on one of Mack's sacks.
Yes.
Spriggs held him. He had to turn around, and he literally used his back. Mack used his back to sack Aaron Rodgers because he was being held so badly by Spriggs. And at one point, Jason Spriggs was one-on-one versus Khalil Mack. I mean, okay, Aaron Rodgers, we make fun of him sometimes about being, a prima donna and complaining. But, I mean, this is stuff he has to complain about. Right. You don't put, Khalil Mack or leave Khalil Mack one-on-one with Jason Spriggs without at least chipping a tight end or a running back or someone on that side to help out Jason Spriggs. And it was just a one shot. Of course, Khalil Mack does the one-handed post move where he just basically, moves Spriggs off like a rag doll to the side and goes and gets the sack. So this is what the Bears needed. It was the prime, position they needed to fill, and they went and got the best player available to fill that position up. And it was funny. I think Shane's been tweeting out over the evening some of the earlier tweets that came out when the trade was first made, and how people were mocking Pace and the Bears for giving up the 2 first-round picks and other draft capital and the big contract. And all I can say is he's worth every penny.
Yep.
Worth every penny.
Totally agree. I'm surprised, too. I listened to the interview with him in the locker room, and I'm surprised that he has not been asked. I don't think he's been asked at all, at least not the interviews that I've heard, about Khalil, you're getting held a lot out there. What's going on? Have you talked to the officials and stuff? I don't.
That's funny you mention that, because I think one of the reasons he doesn't get a lot of these calls, he doesn't complain.
Yes.
He doesn't complain to his referees, and they're like, okay, maybe there wasn't. He's not complaining. Maybe there was no holding. It's like, Khalil, you got to do somewhere. And like, give him credit. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to bitch about this. But man, he's getting held. Like I said, I counted 7 holding penalties that they were not called on him today. If he does more complaining and he a little more boisterous with these officials, hey man, he's holding me, that will get the official to keep a better, pay more attention to that particular tackle or offensive lineman, and that way they can maybe get more holding penalties on him. I think he does himself a disservice by not complaining. Yeah,
I totally agree. Now, Khalil, CB fan points out in the chat room that in the postgame conference, Khalil Mack did mentioned that he got held by the face mask. I think he said in the postgame conference on that particular play where he had his back to the quarterback, and then he was surprised when they told him that he got a sack or half a sack for that. He didn't realize that he got one. But this is Khalil Mack talking about the difference between the performance today by the Chicago Bears and Khalil Mack and the performance in Week 1 against the Green Bay Packers.
I had a little more football under my belt in that first game, knowing the situation, knowing what he wanted to do. Know he was going to try to get the ball out quick, know he was going to scramble a lot. And everybody was ready for it. Everybody was on the same page, and people back.
That is a comment that I really liked a lot, because, this defense now is running the defense like they know it from the back of their hand, whatever the saying is.
Clockwork, yeah. Yeah. They all fit in. They all know where they fit. They all know what the roles are in defense. They all know what to do. He made a great point there. Remember, that first game, he had no training camp. He had come in and had 3 practices with the Bears, and then went ahead and put on that show on Sunday night, opening weekend, So, and I think he only played like 70% of the snaps that first game. I believe that's what the numbers were. So, a totally different defense, in terms of, cohesiveness, in terms of, like we said earlier, knowing where to be, all playing as one big unit. So, marked improvement. And you saw today. Rodgers pretty much was held in check for most of the game, other than some couple of big, pass plays to Devontae Adams here and there, and one to Randall Cobb. Really, there was no threat, if you will, by the Pack and Aaron Rodgers this afternoon.
Hey, what do you think about Aaron Rodgers' play today? And if you've seen him in any games recently, today he just did not look like Aaron Rodgers to me. And I know that there are some issues with the offensive line and so forth, but even, he's had great games with a battered offensive line in the past, and I think that he misses Jordy Nelson immensely. He's not connecting with some of these receivers. He missed Jimmy Graham, the tight end. He missed him on a wide open play down the middle of the field that I posted on Twitter, and then another one, a crossing pattern that Graham was wide open and Rodgers just didn't spot him. There just seems to be not total, but a huge disconnect with his receivers this year. He just doesn't look like the same quarterback to me.
To me, he looks like he's checked out. and be honest with you. He doesn't look like he's engaged with the offense. Just kind of looking at him and seeing him from years past, how he was emotional, he was all into his, with his teammates, so on and so forth. Again, one of his best friends and his main target, Jordy Nelson, was let go this offseason. But again, you're into almost a whole season here. You think he'd be over, losing Jordy Nelson. It just, and then also he mentioned, I think post game, that he has a hip issue that he's dealing with, and of course that knee is not 100% yet. The 1 year from so maybe it's the combination of aches and pains, the coaching changes, all the issues they've had this year offensively, trying to get them going and get on a roll, and missing the playoffs for 2 years in a row. Yeah, to me, it just looked like he was checked out, like he wasn't really into it. Now, interestingly, post game, he did say that he wants to play the final two games of the season, because since the Packers have been eliminated from the playoffs. I think the question was posed to him: do you want to just kind of like take off and start your healing process for your hip and for your knee? And he did say he wants to play, so credit to him there. But I don't know if he's just saying that or if he actually means that. But it wouldn't surprise me if midweek or right before the next week starts, we'll hear Aaron Rodgers is going to be put on IR or whatnot, so he can start get the healing process ready for next year.
That would make sense. Take a look at the other kid, play quarterback. Since you mentioned Leonard Floyd's name, there's a lot of chatting in the chat room about Leonard Floyd. Tell me, I was super impressed with his performance against the Packers and last week against the LA Rams, and I think not so much the Giants game, and maybe the game before against the Lions. I just think he's turned his season around. Draft Dr. Phil kind of laid the gauntlet down on him, was very critical of his play, and then just coincidentally, Leonard Floyd started playing better, and I think, as you mentioned, Danny, it has a lot to do with the fact that he just got healthier, his hands started to feel better, and so forth. And I'm always still a little concerned about that he tends to get hurt a lot. He's a thin guy, but boy, when he plays, he plays well, and he takes advantage. When there's a mismatch, like Brian Bulaga was not playing today, so Jason Spriggs had to block him. He took good advantage of Bulaga, and really whoever he was up against today. Great performance, I thought.
Right, and then again with Floyd, we know his strength is his quickness, his lateral agility, his ability to move in space. But what has really impressed me, as we've been talking about in the show, once his hand got healthy, is his ability to become a physical presence at the defensive end position. His ability to set up a strong edge and as a run defender. His ability to hold his ground when they're coming at him. That has really impressed me. And we look at him. You look at a thin, frail frame. But no, he's put on some muscle, and he's actually got some good core strength there, and it appears. And like I said, he has become. I don't want to say a dominant player, but he's become a very, very good complement to Khalil Mack on the opposite side. Again, a lot of that is because Mack is drawing double teams, sometimes triple teams. Akeem Hicks is drawing double teams, and sometimes inside in the middle of the defense. So he does get a break there, if you will, but he does get a lot of one-on-one in terms of blockers. He does get a lot of one-on-one matchups. So. But his physical play is what you notice. You see him pop on tape. You see him today in the run game become a physical play. He did have one mistake though on that Jamal Williams touchdown run. He did guess. I want to say he guessed because he just popped inside and he got sealed off, and that he basically didn't have containment or lost containment, and that's what set up the Jamal Williams run to the end zone for that touchdown. So. That was the one play that I did kind of mark him down for a critical. It might have been just a mental, he might have guessed or something like that. Yeah. But other than that, I think he had 2 sacks on the day, credited with 2 tackles for loss. So the 3 quarterback hits. So the kid has come on, and it might have been a coincidence, but it might have just been it might have just matched up with his hand being 100%. But ever since after that trade deadline. On those rumors that were floating out there, ever since that kind of went past, you've seen his play pick up, So I think prior to that, we were all kind of questioning. I know you and I were talking about, will they pick up his 5th-year option? Right. I think now I think now that it's
you
a
have
foregone
to.
conclusion. I think now they got to pick it up. Yep.
Yeah, without a doubt. I'm excited about the prospects of this guy. I was excited last year. He got injured, and then I was down on him for his performance this year. But, when you kind of look at it now from a few steps further, a little more macro view, and you consider the injury, you consider some other aspects of his play, and the way he's progressed this season, I'm happy with the development of Leonard Floyd. I think he could have an excellent future. And then the other thing that excites me about him is that he's versatile. With the way they used him in Georgia might actually be the best way to use him in the pros and just put him all over the field.
Right. Yeah, just line him up. And like we've seen a couple of times this year where him and Mac have been on the same side, rushing from the same side. We've seen him stand up in the middle, and what we call the elephant look, where he just standing up in the middle of the line, basically in the 2-point stance and just rushes from there. He's very effective on the tackle end games where the defense tackle pushes upfield and he kind of loops around, comes back in the middle of that line and causes pressure in the face of the quarterback. So, and again, he's using his athleticism, his speed, his ability, his quick burst there. So, things like that, making him, moving him around on the defensive front. His athleticism is a strength of his, and that's something that's some versatility that Vic Fangio has that he could play with. But the injuries are always going to be a concern. Until he puts on, or puts back-to-back, healthy seasons together, you're always going to have that in the back of your mind that this kid does get hurt a lot. So that's why I still believe like they should have a quality backup behind him. Yes. In case something injury happens, that depth. You need depth. You got the next man up. And speaking of that, there was a one sequence today where Khalil Mack was off the field, and I think Floyd was on. I'm not 100% sure. I got to check the tape, but Isaiah Irving put on a pretty good pass rush there, and then caused some disruption there in the pocket, causing Rodgers to throw an incomplete pass. So Isaiah Irving has been active the last couple of weeks, but he hasn't gotten much playing time other than special teams. Now with the injury to Lynch, we'll probably see more of him, and probably also Kyle Fitz as well play these final 2 weeks. So those are two kids to keep an eye on as you're watching these final two games before the playoffs start, to see what the Bears have there in terms of depth behind these starters.
Good point. All right. I want us to hear from Akeem Hicks, one of my favorite Chicago Bears of all time. I love this guy. I love his motor. I love the way he plays. And I love his press conferences, too. Now, after the game, he was asked. Now, the audio is not really good here. It kind of clicks in a little later into the interview, so bear with us. But he was asked, what did it mean for him to take away the NFC North from Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say a lie to you guys and say I didn't enjoy taking it. That Green Bay is not our friend. We have nothing in common, and we want to beat them as many times as we can, whenever we can. So I loved it.
So it sounds like it's not lost on you guys that in the opener there was a chance for an interception to save the game that fell through, and here there's an interception that seals the game. Does that show anything about your growth since week one as a defense?
Oh, well, so many things can happen during the course of a game, right? And, you would think that would be a play that you're saying to yourself, oh, man, if we had got that play, everything would be okay. No, there's a reason why we lost that game. And that reason is that we did not finish, and we finished today.
Akeem, could you feel how uncomfortable you made Aaron today?
Yeah, he was smiling at me a lot. He knew that I wanted to get to him, and he knew we all wanted to get to him. Shoot, what did Flo have? Flo had 4 sacks? Two today. 2, that's it? It looked like 4. That's how good it was, right?
And Khalil had 2.
Khalil had 2. Okay, so 2 and 2. Yeah, man, everybody wanted to get to him. Everybody wanted to bite. We did. Yeah, I did my best. I don't know what I'm talking about, guys. I won the NFC North. I'm tired. All right? We won the NFC North. I want to go home. I love all y'all. I love the city of Chicago. I'll catch you guys on the back end. I'm going to sleep. I'm out. No, I'm not even hungry. I ate today.
I love that guy. I love his energy. I love his sense of humor. He's been a guest on our show, Bears 100 Proof on the Bears Ballroom Radio Network. Just a cool dude, man.
That guy is the best, man. Green Bay's not our friend. I like that. That should be a T-shirt. Right? Yes. I should be saying on a T-shirt. It's funny because he said, I think it was 2 weeks or last week, he might have said that he likes the Sunday night games because he gets to eat during the day. Because these noon starts, he doesn't eat at all because he can't play on a full stomach. So he doesn't save anything. That's why he says he's hungry because he wants to go home and eat and then sleep. So that was kind of funny.
That explains it. All right. Now, Nagy was asked in the post-gamer today what he thought about the future of this team, and I really love what he says here. Take a listen.
We're a young team. Ryan and Joey Lane have done a really good job with contractually with these guys, and that's such an important part that you see. I think with our team, we are set up for the right way in the right direction. But there's just so many things that go into it with things down the road, and but we're in a good spot right now, and we know that. And to be where we're at right now as we stand, we know down the road we want to just keep this thing going.
And I think that's a really good way to start to wind up our thoughts here, is not only about what is ahead in the immediate future for this team, because it's quite possible that we could be playing in the NFC Conference Championship game with a chance to go to the Super Bowl, but also that the fact that this team has laid down a foundation for being successful for a number of years. Now, I know that, that's always a tenuous thing because of injuries, because of how other teams might improve and, close the gap or what have you. But nonetheless, if we can allow ourselves to look at 2019, 2020, 2021, the Chicago Bears team is loaded to be a really, really good team into the future.
Well, that's what we were talking about a couple weeks ago, where like this team is still a young team.
Yeah.
I think they were like 5th or 6th youngest in the league, if I'm not mistaken. So, and a key to that is they targeted, young free agents in terms of age-wise, right? They're not guys who are on their second or third contracts, guys who are coming off their first rookie contract or maybe possibly even, middle of the second contract and you wouldn't have got them. So, that. And then also some successful back-to-back draft classes, and so this is why when I getting back to my love, my passion, which is scouting. This is why the upcoming drafts are still going to be vital and important, because you have this young talent, this young core. You're going to continue to develop and grow. You got to bring in the next wave that's going to create some quality depth behind these starters. All right, you don't want to go out there and just continue to bring in free agents and all these big contracts, because eventually these young guys, the Trubiskys, the Floyds, the Anthony Millers, Jordan Howards, all these guys are going to come up and they're going to want money too. So then you're going to have a salary cap hell, if they call it, to pay all these guys and then also maintain a competitive balance. So what you got to do is, once you have your core, then you fill in here and there with some free agents. You don't go out and get the big max guys. If you look at the Rams now, we were just talking about the Rams real quick here. They have a lot of high-priced free agents because they have the rookie the rookie quarterback on his rookie contract. So do the Bears, but they have a lot of other high-priced players all across that defense, so on and so forth. And what happens is that hurts their depth. Okay, right. They don't have much quality depth. So if a starter goes down, they're pretty much screwed in that position. With the Bears, though, what I want to see them do is they have that rookie quarterback on that first contract as well. But let's, we've got the free agents. We can fill in here and there, but let's continue to fill that depth with the young guys. Let's continue. We have a coaching staff that looks like they can develop and coach up these players. Let's get these guys in, continue to grow that depth behind us. Kind of if you will, like a Packers model, if you will. But obviously the Packers didn't like free agency. We'll still use free agency here and there, but just continue to use that draft to give you quality depth. And then eventually, if you lose a guy because you can't pay everyone. Once you lose guys, you have guys that are ready to step up and take their place. Excellent stuff. All right, now you mentioned the word love. I know where you're going here. Yeah, Charles Leno Jr. Earlier in the week, he went to head coach Matt Nagy and said, "Would it be okay if I asked my girlfriend to marry me on the field at the end of the Green Bay Packers game?" And Matt Nagy's response was, "Of course it is, but be prepared for anything," which is a great response. So what if they lost? Would he have gone through with it if they lost? Yes, he was asked that. And so I'm actually going to play the entire post-game interview. It's 2 minutes long. I thought Leno was charming in how he handled media questions, and he just seems like a really cool guy. I hope we can get him on one of our shows here because he sounds like a great guy. This is Charles Leno talking about his how he hatched the plan for the proposal and everything else.
I'm on cloud 9 right now. I can't even lie.
So what happened there at the midfield?
Midfield again. I had to get on my knee and propose. Now I'm to my now fiance. You know what I mean? So it's been a long time coming. I know it's gonna come, and what a perfect moment to do it.
Where does this day rank for you in terms of memorable days in your life?
It's easily up there as one of the best days of my life. Easily.
Did you think how did she react? How surprised?
Oh, she was surprised. She was shaking and crying. Right now, I guarantee she's bawling right now. She tried to hold it in for me, but she's crying her ass off right now.
That's the effect you want.
Heck yeah, that's all I wanted to do. Yeah.
What's your fiance's name?
Jennifer.
Yeah, wonderful.
Heck yeah.
How long have you planned this?
Honestly, like it was coming soon, but once I found out we can clinch this week, I had to speed things up. I had to speed up the process. So I kind of planned it early this week.
Did you get a chance to talk to her dad first?
Yeah, I did all that. Don't worry. I made sure I took the proper procedures. You know,
protocol.
Yeah, I did that.
Sorry, back to the game.
Started with a false start penalty, right?
I was juiced. You know what I mean? I was a little bit amped up. You know, so I didn't know how that thing was going to plan out. But I scratched that after that play, and I moved on.
Where did you keep the ring?
What?
Who had the ring?
I had it in my sock.
It was in your sock?
I'm kidding. I can't tell you that. It was in a very safe place.
I think a good guess might be Tony Medley.
Yeah,
You're not going to say.
I'm not going to say.
You guys had a lot of belief.
What if you didn't win?
What if we didn't win?
Were you going to propose?
Still going to do it.
You were?
But I just had a feeling. I knew the way we prepared this week. I knew the way our team was ready. And I just had a feeling.
You guys had a lot of belief in training camp even. I mean, does it go all the way back to that?
Man, it goes all the way back to OTAs, man. We believed in ourselves. We believe in everything we've been doing. We put in the work. This team is resilient. I love going to work with these guys every day. We believe, like us in this locker room believe, outside noise. We really didn't try to listen to all that because a lot of people didn't believe in us. And now they do. Now they're talking about, Super Bowl contenders, all that. Okay, we'll kick you to the side still. We know who we are. We know we're a resilient team. We're fighters. And that we're NFC North champions right now.
How cool is that, Danny?
That was awesome. So I'm curious, who had the ring?
He wouldn't say. Now, Tony Medlin, the equipment manager, typically he would be the guy that says that, but for some reason, Charles didn't want to say, and that's probably a good idea. You don't want to reveal who might be holding on to something so valuable like that.
Man, yeah, I imagine that's a lot of pressure because you're holding this.
My gosh.
I'm assuming this is not a or just a run-of-the-mill ring here. This has got some carrots in it, and you do not want to lose that ring, man.
No, you don't. You do not. All right, Danny, let's tackle some final thoughts here. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about not just this game, but just your overall thoughts about the Chicago Bears winning the NFC North under Matt Nagy's rookie year. I find that incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we all felt good about the hire, once it was made, and once we kind of got to, hear what his plan, his vision for the team, Nagy's that is. But then when they attacked the offseason, the way they attacked it, when you saw the way how this team was developing, what they're doing to put this team together, and how they're going to, be out there with the defense, with the strong defense, and then a young quarterback and build around a young quarterback and eventually develop an offense, a current, NFL offense, nothing like the Dow Loggins offense that you had seen last season. So it was definitely something that you were encouraged, but, to come out there, I mean, I knew they were going to be, competitive and possibly, contend for a playoff spot, but to come out and win the division, preseason, they were picked to be the fourth team in the division, so that people were saying that the Lions were going to be better than the Bears, and they made a coaching change as well, but yet the Bears were still being picked, to be, in last place. So, like I said earlier in the show, very proud of the Bears, the organization, the way they put this thing together. We could just mention a moment ago, they're a young team still developing, and they're getting all this experience, which is great. So, but a key thing though, and they mentioned it, in the post game, I think to a player, and obviously, the coach Nagy said it. They're not done yet. They know they're not done yet. This is a great first step, clinch the division. Hopefully they'll catch the Rams and get a first round bye. But if they don't, they know that they're not done yet. There's still more work to do. Why not go for a Super Bowl? Why not think you can make it? Why not think you can win it? Because like I said earlier in the show, this defense will travel, and I would put this defense up against any offense in the NFC. in any offense, and even against the Chiefs in the AFC. I think this defense can play against anybody, and it's just a matter of, offensively, let's continue the trend with Trubisky. Let's continue to get better. I like the fact that he was using Jordan Howard earlier in the game today. I wish, he had continued using him. Howard got 19 carries. But, again, let's not forget about the running game. Let's continue to build around this quarterback, continue to get his confidence up and going, and let that defense lead us to, will lead them to hopefully a championship.
Danny, what's remarkable? I think you and I, we didn't do a show last year, but you and I talked off the record about that. This team had talent last year under John Fox, and it appeared to be squandered by coaching that was not inspiring, that was not scheming things well on offense and defense. Defense, I shouldn't perhaps say defense, because the defense really rarely let us down last season. But there did seem to be some issues with perhaps John Fox and Vic Fangio butting heads and stuff. There were some unofficial reports about that, and when you ask both gentlemen, they deny it. But I don't know. I mean, Fox is just such a stubborn guy, and Fangio's such a proud guy, that I can see them butting heads. But back to my original point, this was just a team with so much talent, and you just looked at this team last year and said, with a good coach, this team could be a playoff team, and it's happened.
The one thing, though, I must say is offensively they were lacking talent at the skill position. So receiver-wise, tight end, the addition of Allen Robinson, Trey Burton, Taylor Gabriel, Anthony Miller, guys like that, have allowed Joshua Bellamy to be a fifth receiver. And, lo and behold, Joshua Bellamy, I think, has improved tremendously as a receiver. He made a great catch today. And I think it might have been his only catch of the game, but he made a great catch today. So, to rely on him as a starter, Bellamy, that is, last year, and now he's like fifth guy where he, belongs on the depth chart. So I think that's improved. The addition of James Daniels at guard has helped him out tremendously as well. So, defensively, I think pretty much the players are as they were last year, but just another year in the system, more cohesive, and obviously you had Khalil Mack. That's a whole different ball game there. So, but I think offensively the biggest thing there, the biggest improvement was at the skill position with the addition of those receivers. So I think they had some. And remember, Trubisky was a rookie quarterback, right? Starting for the first time and coming off of his college season where he had 13 start total. So, it's they had talent, but they weren't, ready to play yet. And in some positions, some areas they were lacking talent. So I think with the offseason that Ryan Pace had this year, with the, infusion of the brain trust, the coaching staff of the offensive coaching staff with Matt Nagy and Mark Helfrich and so on and so forth, I think that has now it's been like a perfect, combination. And that's now we're seeing the results of all that, right? We're seeing the talent with the coaching, with the development of the defensive side, adding a superstar defensive end. I think it's all coming together at the right time. So I think that's Dowell Loggins, trust me, Dowell Loggins ran a offense that, like I've joked before, it looked like he was playing Madden. He had no rhyme, no rhythm in terms of his play calling. How many times this year have we seen Matt Nagy set up a play he was going to call 2-3 plays down in the game, by calling another play just to set that one up. Maybe a different formation, same set, motion guys here and there, just to give the defense a different look, because he's setting them up for a play he's going to hit them on later on. So, stuff like that is what you like seeing in an offensive innovative play caller. Dowell Loggins didn't have that, prior to that. So I think it's a perfect combination of the additional talent, the improved coaching staff, and I think now we're seeing the results of it.
Nagy starts to set up plays like weeks in advance. Some of the stuff that he does.
His scripted plays are some of the best in the NFL.
Yeah,
his first 15 scripted plays are some of the best in the NFL.
He really is a special coach, and he has admitted it almost in every other press conference that he's still young, he's still learning, and that's what's exciting is just how much he's going to continue to grow into the job, and his vulnerability is vulnerable. His whole style of coaching is something that I really, really appreciate, and I'm just so grateful that we finally have a coach that I can just say I am proud that this guy coaches our team. Now,
when was the last time the Chicago Bears coach was being heralded as the new wave innovator, offensive genius? Like, now last year was all Sean McVay. Now everyone's like saying, oh, all teams now want a McVay Nagy. They all lump Nagy in with Sean McVay. So it's like I'm not used to seeing that. I'm not used to seeing a Chicago Bears head coach being heralded by national media as being an innovative offensive play caller extraordinaire. So it's kind of you do a double take there. Like, wait, this is the Chicago Bears head coach who they're talking about being an offensive innovator. Other teams want to get someone like this. So it's great, and it's great to have for Mitch Trubisky, because now your head coach is your offensive play caller and your offensive coordinator. Per se. So you don't have to worry about, if you had a defensive-minded coach, you had a great offensive coordinator, another team's going to come and pluck this guy away, and now then Trubisky's got to learn a whole new offense, so on and so forth. No, even if they come and pluck away other coaches from the staff, your play caller is going to stay here. Your head coach is going to stay here, and that's a tremendous benefit to Mitch Trubisky.
Yep, I totally agree with that. What do you think about next week's game against San Francisco? You think that this could be like a letdown game? They've clinched it. They're going to be on the road.
Well, I hope not, because like we talked about earlier, they're one game now behind the Rams for that bye, and depending on some of the injuries, we haven't heard anything so far. I haven't seen anything other than Eddie Jackson left with a walking boot on. I think Aaron Lynch, I thought that was a broken forearm, but they said after the game it was an elbow, so I'm not sure what his status is. But, to get that first round bye, that's going to be huge, because all you need to do is play one game at home, you win it, and you're playing for the NFC Championship game. So I hope that's the motivation, that's what he puts out there in front of him this week. Guys, let's go out there, let's take care of business. Let's win this game, and then let's see what happens with the Rams. We may not get the second seed, but hey, let's at least try and clinch. At the third seed, if you will, guarantee yourself at least one home playoff game. And then, the final game against Minnesota, that's where I would expect to see all the starters probably not even play, to be honest with you. That'll be, quote unquote, their bye week, if you will, heading into the first round of the playoffs. So I think this week they go out there and play well. And Frisco's playing well. I mean, they're playing hard. Give Kyle Shanahan credit. They're only won 4 games this year, but you know what? They're out there. They're playing hard. And they beat Seattle today, who was on a roll, like we mentioned earlier. So, if you're going out there expecting to walk through, or as a cakewalk with playing the 49ers, you got nothing coming towards you, because they're gonna come out there, they're gonna be ready to play. So I would hope that the Bears are going to be willing to play as well, or ready to play as well.
Steven Zimmerman is giving me a hard time in the chat room. I'm not even going to read what you had to say, Zim. I just have to say that I am one of the happiest guys. I may not sound it, but I am one of the happiest guys in the world. I'm so proud of this team. I'm so proud of what we're doing here at Bears Barroom. I love doing this show with you, Mr. Danny Shimon. We've been having a blast. We've chronicled the entire season of the Chicago Bears together. The downs, starting with that awful Week 1 loss against the Green Bay Packers, to the ups when Mitch Trubisky had the 6 touchdown passes, and when we had the monumental win against the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, by the way, I should play this before we go. Hold on. Let me stop the music. Stop the music. I want to play a soundbite from Coach Nagy that I think is important for us to hear. Let me see if I can find it real quick. This was Nagy talking about, he was asked about when did he get a sense that this team could become a championship team. And this is what he said.
We're a young team. Ryan and Joey Lane have done a really good job.
That's not it. My bad. Hold on. Go back here and play.
Well, you could feel it all year long that we knew we had the talent. I think more so than anything, it was going to be how do we respond to adversity, and how do our guys react to a loss? How do they react to a win? And I'll go back to the Minnesota game Sunday night when we played the Vikings and a former NFC North division champ, and that was a big turnaround, I think, for us to come in there and be here at home and win that game. And I think it kind of just really embedded into our players the true belief of how they felt where we could go. And you talk about it, but when do you really start truly believing it? And I think that was probably a time that I'll look back and think that's when we turned a corner.
I had to play that because isn't
interesting.
Don't you think? Don't you agree with him? I think that was the key moment too.
Yeah, definitely, man. There have been so many key moments. Yeah, but that was the one game where the national media was saying, "All right, let's see if they're legitimate here," because they had just come off that 3-game sweep of that was part of that 3-game sweep of that NFC North run they had there. So Minnesota was the still being looked at as the cream of the crop of the division, and this was the chance for the Bears to go ahead and overtake them and kind of jump into the spotlight. But to me, and if you remember, although that first game against Green Bay, it was a tough loss. But remember, we after that game where I was like, there's a lot of positive things I see here. Because I saw the defense make plays. I saw the defense really dominate in that first game. Dominate and shut down the Packers offense, right? And this is when we thought the Packers were, possibly the, Super Bowl contender here. And we said, if just they got to make up some of these mistakes here, and the offense is going to continue to grow and develop. So, and the key thing about this team, and the one thing I've loved about them, and it's got to, tip of the hat to the coaching staff here, is this team always bounces back after a loss, whether it's a blowout, which they haven't been blown out, but a tough loss. They always come back and they're always ready to go the next week. So that's kudos to the coaching staff for preparing them, for getting them ready to go. And I think he's referring to the Minnesota game because that was probably their first big, if you will, primetime national game where everyone's like, all right, all eyes are on us. Let's show them that, hey, we are legit. And then, of course, they backed it up last week, versus the Rams. So, now got to continue to go. Now when we get to the first playoff game, I'm sure they're going to be probably placed in a primetime position for that game as well. So, this is going to be something where, again, all eyes are going to be on them. Let's go. Let's continue this trend. Let's continue to play well and up our level of play on these primetime games. So that's what I'm going to be expecting from these guys. They like the pressure. They like the spotlight, if you will. They want to perform for the other 31 teams in the national audience. So definitely looking forward to seeing them continue to prove all the doubters wrong going forward.
I am with you. Let's prove all these doubters wrong. Now, I am going to play our theme music as we go out, and I got to tell people that Draft Dr. Phil, who is traveling back home tomorrow morning, he is going to be occupying this space here on Mixlr.com in about 22 hours, and we're all on the edge of our seats to see how bad his voice is going to be.
I was going to say, does he have a voice left?
Yeah.
He was singing his ass off last night.
Yeah, he was singing his ass off, and he was yelling and screaming during the game today. And I understand, I haven't seen the video yet, but I understand that he had a little bit of an emotional breakdown because he was so happy that the Chicago Bears finally won an NFC North. Of course, Phil, if you don't know about Phil, outside of his kids and his wife, I don't think that, and his dad and close family, I don't think there's anything more important than the Chicago Bears to this guy. This is a guy that at his wedding, all of the tables, there weren't table numbers. There were the names of Chicago Bears players. You're sitting over at the Urlacher. You're sitting over at the Singletary. You're sitting over the Walter Payton. This guy, if you were to cut open his veins, he would be bleeding navy blue and orange. So we can't wait to see what he's got to say tomorrow. I'm not sure if he's got a guest or not tomorrow. He probably does, but it's going to be a great show. You can bet on that. Bears are alive, 9 p.m. Central here on Mixlr, and it will be on your podcast stream on Tuesday morning. And then we got our raucous, roadhouse, raunchy, Bears 100 proof in the middle of the week, and Buffon 55 on Wednesday. Oh, I got to find a guest for him. Somebody who covers the San Francisco 49ers. Don't worry, I'll find a good one for John, and John will take care of doing a great interview with him. I think we've got our last Fantasy Football Goon show coming out this week. It may not be the last of this fantasy football season because I think they're going to do some other things, but in smaller in time limits. Don't forget, let's talk it out with Trey Busy on Thursday nights here on Mixlr.com. And then the Mike North Advantage Friday, And then I can't wait for the Barfly Tailgate show. Oh my gosh, I was able to catch a bit of their show that they taped on Saturday for Sunday because half the crew was out at the Bears game, and they did a sensational job. These guys are just really hitting out of the ballpark. I'm really proud of all the stuff we got in the Bears Barroom Radio Network. And you head over to bearsbarroom.com. The articles our writers are posting up there, definitely worth a read. Chris Armstrong, I'm sure, is going to have her take on the Bears game. After I'm done here, I got to go over to bearsbarroom.com and see what articles we got and post those. So I'm still going to be working tonight. But I'm not complaining because this is the best job in the world. The reward is all of our barflies are appreciative of what we're doing. They're spreading the word. They're helping us grow, and that is all I can ask for. Danny Shimon, you are my partner. Hey, Danny, are we going down to Mobile, Alabama to have a good time and check out the Senior Bowl?
Oh, I'm there already. I'm making my arrangements as we speak.
Yeah, we put in for our press credentials. We're just waiting for them to approve those press credentials. And if everything goes fine, Danny and I will be down there for the Senior Bowl giving you daily reports on video and audio of the guys Ryan Pace is going to be looking at for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. And you know what Mr. Ryan Pace has done when scouting those mid-round draft picks. Give me a name, Danny. Give me a name that you're looking forward to seeing down at the Senior Bowl.
Well, Jalen Ferguson from Louisiana Tech is a guy who's a defensive end that's been playing really well this year. He's committed down there. I think 4 of the top pass rushers are committed to the Senior Bowl. But, of course, without having a first or second round pick, chances are the Bears won't have a chance at him. But those are the kind of guys, those are the positions I'm going to be looking for because, like I said, you can never have enough pass rushers. So I'm looking at defensive end. This is generally speaking for the Bears and their needs coming up for next year's draft. I'm looking at offensive linemen. I'm looking at pass rushers. I'm looking at some safeties. And I'm looking at some cornerbacks because I think those are some play areas where the Bears can add some more depth, some more playmakers to not only make up for injuries but also make up for possible departures in free agency this upcoming offseason. So always looking for possibly running backs and receivers as well because you never know with a head coach that's so offensive minded. He always wants to add more playmakers. He also wants to be able to add guys who will make a difference. Guys like Tariq Cohen who doesn't fit a specific height, weight trait of a particular position, but he can be used in multiple dimensions, multiple ways. Guys like that. That before you could say, he's too small. He's not gonna play. He can't play receiver. Oh, you know what? He can't play running back. Not anymore, guys. Now, if a guy is a playmaker, if a guy can get the ball in his hands and score points, he is an option for the Bears. He's a viable option for the Bears because they're going to want to get these playmakers. Think Tariq Cohen, think Tyreek Hill. Guys like that where they just get the ball in their hands and they can create ways for them to be able to score and add more points. So those are the kind of guys I'm going to be looking for when I'm down in Mobile, Alabama, scouting for this offseason.
Steven Zimmerman in the chat room says, Jalen Ferguson. Give me a quick scouting report on Jalen Ferguson.
Jalen Ferguson, I think, had 15 sacks, might have led the NCAA in this past season. He's got good length, explosive first step. He's a guy who can play some outside linebacker if you stand him up. So, teams with a 3-4 or a 4-3 could be looking at him as well. But, again, he's a guy that's probably going to be looking at going in that first round. So, a guy that, unless the Bears do some sort of miracle trade up into the first round, which I don't think they have the capital, but he's a guy that probably won't be available. But, there's going to be other players, and there's always players that you can find, especially guys, situational pass rushers, which what the Bears are going to probably be looking for, guys who can play some of that stand-up outside linebacker that you can, bring in and plug in and have him play. Guys, let's not forget about Kylie Fitz. He's a guy that I liked last year coming out of Utah, kind of an Aaron Lynch mode, if you will. A physical point at the point of attack. He just hasn't had a chance yet. Of course, he's got some talented veterans in front of him. So once I like to see him these next couple of weeks, maybe get some more snaps, see what he can do.
All right, that was fun. I love talking drafts. Steven Zimmerman says no more draft talk. We got playoffs to talk about first. He's totally right, but I love talking the draft. I keep an eye on these guys all 12 months. I'm always looking ahead. It's just so much fun to look at the upcoming talent that's coming into the NFL and dream about what the possibilities are of the Bears improving their team through the draft. CB fans,
especially with the coaching staff now that is so innovative in the way it's thinking, both offensively and defensively. You can plug and play guys, and you can use them in multiple facets now on defense and on offense. So it's really fun now scouting for the looking at terms of what the Bears can use here, because like I said, the way that Nagy can think of using these players offensively to put more points on the board.
CB fan says, Danny, your football players. Air Jared wants to know, who will Oakland draft at 32, do you think? I think it's going to be a bust. That's what I think. Do not trust Gruden, that's for sure. Were you surprised?
They're talking about the pick that they're going to get from the Bears. That's why he said 32.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because the Bears win the Super Bowl. That's what he's saying.
I got it. I'm a little slow right now. I'm getting tired. All right, Danny Shimon, say goodbye to your followers.
All right, guys. Till next week.
All right. Remember, if you drink, please do not drive. And always, say it with me, Danny. Bear down!
Bear down!